Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about procrastination and share some tips for overcoming it based on my personal experience, because I struggled with this issue a lot before, but I managed to overcome it. Procrastination is a type of behavior when you are avoiding completing your tasks, and there could be many reasons for that. I'll mention some. Firstly, it could be a physical cause, such as illness or depression. So if you're experiencing such things, you're probably not interested in completing some of your tasks, and these things can also impact your concentration. So it can be extremely difficult, and at the same time you may have much more important things to worry about, such as managing your health and your well-being in general. Also, it could be that you're experiencing high levels of stress or burnout. So if you're going through many problems, you're experiencing some losses, some unhappy times for you, difficult times, then it's also obvious that your energy goes for solving the acute problems at the moment, but not some tasks which are at that particular point not that important. And there are ways to measure your level of stress. I spoke about it in one of my videos. If you're interested, you can check it out. I will leave the link to it below. And I spoke about it in more detail in the book I published recently about overcoming procrastination and laziness. So if you have more interest in the subject, you can go to Amazon and download it to your Kindle. Another possible reason is that if you're procrastinating, you probably like your current position. You like where you are in life at the moment, and you don't want to move anywhere from that point. And there could be also many reasons for that, and some of the reasons could be really subconscious. So I will give some example that is clear. Imagine you're dating someone and you really like this person, you're in love, and you at the same time want to make some progress in your life. You want to move on, you want to do something, you want to achieve something, and so on. But your partner doesn't want anything. Your partner prefers different type of life. And here you know that if you start to do something, if you start to complete your task, if you start moving on with your life, then your partner may remain behind, and it may create a big gap between you two, and you will not be able to manage these different lifestyles of you two, and that may lead to separation and breakup. Basically, you are risking to lose this relationship, and you'll be hurt, maybe really hurt, and you don't want to go through that. You want to avoid pain, and it's a really common thing. We human beings often do things to avoid being hurt. We may do things which are not that good for us probably, and would lead us to worse circumstances in the long term, but we won't feel this intense pain. That's why we're still choosing maybe worse life at some point. Or imagine a person always procrastinating, not really doing anything with their life, and what's beneficial there? What's good about it? And that person may get some benefits, like others could say to this person, "Oh, you poor thing, your life is so difficult, I would like to help you," or just take more part in that person's life, participate more. Kind of that person may receive more care. That could be really satisfying, and this person would not change anything at this point, because that satisfaction, that participation from others is more important than developing one's life. What could this person do instead? They could go to therapist and bring some awareness into their life, understand where they are at the moment, what's going on with their life. It's already a huge step forward. Also, instead of looking for the external attention and care, they could provide this care and love for themselves by themselves, because it's within them. And they may learn how to support themselves, how to be nice to themselves, how to give themselves enough care and attention. And that way they will start to move on with their life and won't be procrastinating, because they won't be afraid to lose these comments and this participation of other people in their life. And other pretty common reasons are lack of motivation and poor time management. And here I'd like to share my personal story, because I think I experienced all of that, and you'll see how it's all correlated and connected to each other. When I was 16 years old, I went to study in law university. It was a very good university, and back then I was sure that this was my thing. It was the profession I wanted to do throughout all my life. So I studied really well. I completed all my tasks. I performed really well in the classes, and I did really well on my exams. At the same time, I had time to start my first ever relationship, to go out with my friends, to go to the gym, even to do some part-time job. Pretty rarely, but still I did it sometimes. I complete all my homework and do my hobbies and all other things. So we studied from approximately 9 o'clock in the morning till like around 5, and that was it. So I completed everything, and that was because I was motivated and I knew why I was doing it. So I was pretty inspired and pretty motivated for that. And then I quit this university and I went to Acton University. When I went to Acton University, the schedule there was much worse. I had much less time. So we studied from 8, 9 in the morning till late evening. Sometimes it happened that some people would even stay there for a night, and I would have to take a taxi to go home because public transport didn't work anymore at some point. And that was insane. And still, I thought that that was the thing what I really wanted to do. I thought that would be a profession of my life back then, and I was really motivated. So I did everything really, really well. And again, I found the time for even going to the gym. Really not that often as before, because we also had some sport classes in the university and I didn't need it as much as before, and I still had time to go out. I still had time to go shopping, to do my hobbies and everything else. So I could organize everything and live my life fully, and I had time to read books and absolutely everything. So it's also why, because I was extremely motivated. I knew why I was doing. I had a purpose. And after quitting the Acton University, I found myself in a really difficult position because I didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. I had already tried 2 professions and they didn't work for me. I was concerned, worried about my future, and worried that I would never find a job of my life or a profession of my life. So that put me in a bit of a depressing mood. I can't say I was depressed because I experienced depression and it was many times more intense. It's a different thing, but I got kind of bored from life, or just a bit, it put me a bit down. So that was my situation back then. I started to do some part-time jobs. I started to work more, and I knew why I was doing that. I wanted to earn some money. At the same time, I wanted to try different things, and that was the only thing what I was motivated with and what I did pretty a lot. All my other time I spent lying on the sofa watching some bullshit on internet and so on. And of course I went out with my friends, I went for walks, I sometimes did some cultural things, but the most free time I had, I spent in a poor way, like doing nothing. And that didn't lead me anywhere, obviously. It was just a waste. I tried to tell myself, okay, I studied French in both universities, why don't I continue learning French? Okay, I tried to organize my time, which I had a lot, and I tried, okay, let's start to learn French, just to do something at least. And I was trying, and my maximum was like 1 hour per month, I'd say. So obviously it happened to me because I didn't understand why I was doing that. And here, what could I do? I could create a purpose for myself. Not again look for it externally, not say, okay, that's because in my university I have exam, or not because that's what I'll have to perform at my profession, for example. No, I could say, well, let's go to France and use this language there, for example. I could create something, but no, I didn't. So that was my mistake. And that way, of course, I procrastinated on learning French just the same as I procrastinated on absolutely anything else I tried to do back then, because I didn't know why. And that way I lost a lot of time. And I want to say that the lazier I was getting, the less interested I was in any tasks I was creating for myself. And it was like a funnel. So the less I do, the less I wanted to do, kind of like that. The more I did, the more interested I started to get, and the more motivated I was, and more interested in the world. So that could be a really important thing here, and that what I did really wrong. Then of course I went to study in another university, but it was a different type of study. It's where we studied only 2 times per year. We had our exam sessions, and meanwhile we had to complete our homeworks and other tasks. So it was just 1-2 months of the session and classes and exams together. So we had both, and lectures also. This type of study, and I wasn't interested in the subject at all. It was some archives or documentation thing. It's not what I wanted to do. I thought it was connected to history, but no, it wasn't really, though we had a lot of history there where I performed pretty well, and all other subjects, no. So this took me around 4 years of studying, and here I may say I wasted my time, but I learned a really interesting thing here. When I came to one of my first exam sessions there, all the homework I had to complete before this exam session, I obviously didn't do. And it was a lot of homework, many essays and other things, so I did nothing. And of course, it means I procrastinated on these tasks. Why? Because no motivation, no interest, nothing. And I came there and I was struggling. I was in a very difficult position because sometimes we had 2 exams per day plus classes on a different subjects where I had to also perform with our essays and all other things and answer the questions. I was absolutely overwhelmed and frustrated. I absolutely wasn't ready for that. So that's how I managed it. I looked at my schedule and I saw, okay, so tomorrow, for example, I have this subject where I have to send my homework. I had to send my homework like a few months ago, but it's not done yet. Okay, I have to do this homework now then. Okay, what else? Later I have this exam. Okay, and later I have another class where I have to prepare this essay. So I sat down and I just did it. I just did it one by one. So firstly, I was doing this homework which I had to do a few months ago, and later I was preparing for this exam, and later I was preparing the essay for the next class. And while I was doing that, I just paid attention to this task and not to anything else. So my attention was only concentrated on one task at the time, and nothing else was interesting me at that moment. And that way I managed to organize myself and pass the whole exam session without taking any exams again, without any problem. Well, of course, there were problems for me because I struggled a lot. It was a horrible time for me, but I guess that's what you have to pay for procrastinating before and being lazy at some point. After that, I also understood that, well, it was a good lesson. That technique on concentrating only on one task is really good and it really helped me, but I'm not sure I want to ever experience such pressure again. So I thought better I complete tasks before. And while I studied in that university, at the same time, I went to study psychology, and I really enjoyed it. I was really interested in the subject and I loved it. However, I was motivated only in classes because I still wasn't sure that I wanted to make it my profession. And I didn't have a purpose for that. I didn't aim for making it profession of my life or anything like that. So it's also strange because why some profession again has to be like profession of my life, but yeah, that idea what I had before. And later, after a few years of studying psychology, I finally realized that that's what I wanted to do throughout all my life. That's what I wanted to go for. And then everything changed for me. Then I finally completed all the tasks, all the hours I had to complete before. I started to work really hard outside of classes. I organized my schedule really well. I read all the literature I had to read, and I prepared for the exams really well. And at the end, I finished the university and all was good about it. And to summarize, I will say what actually helped me to overcome procrastination. I think it's pretty obvious from the story, but anyway, first thing is defining your goals. What do you actually want from this life? What are your goals in general? And how is certain task helping you to achieve your goals? For example, you learning French, but you don't really need French at the moment. And it's not connected neither to your profession, neither to your plans, for example. But you can find another reason for that. Or maybe you can abandon it at the end, but if you want to learn it at some point and you feel like you want to do it, then you can create a purpose for yourself or the reason why you're doing that. For example, as I said before, I want to go to France, stay there for 2 months and use the language there. Or you may think, well, learning language really helps me to distract from my problems and it's good for changing the activity. It's a good training for my brain. It helps me to concentrate better on other things later and so on. So you kind of understand why are you doing it. And it's really helpful here. That way you get more motivation. And if you define your goals in the right way, if it's really what you want from your life, not your surrounding, not society, not what was installed to you in your past when you were a child, but what you really want for yourself, then you will not procrastinate. Then you will not be interested in being lazy and doing nothing on the sofa. Then you would be interested in achieving it. You will be interested in moving on with your life, for progressing. That's what you would look for if these goals are really valuable for you particularly, not for someone else. So it's really important to think about it and define it in a right way. I would take it as one of the most important tools to avoid procrastination. And of course, such reasons as depression, burnout, or high levels of stress is a different thing and should be considered individually. You can seek for help of professional. It's a really good thing to do and can be really beneficial for you. So of course you should concentrate on your well-being first and then think about your goals. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was useful for you. If so, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps it to grow. Also, I wanted to mention that I published my first ever ebook about overcoming procrastination and laziness. So if you have more interest in the subject, you can check it out. I will leave the link to it below this video. See you later and have an amazing day.